Glorification of Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. I will share with you one interesting fact. Then I will share with you one of his teachings. He has many teachings, unlimited teachings. But just one teaching I'll share with you in this limited time, his unlimited teachings. And I'll share with you one incident, a true life incident that happened with him, with His Holiness Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. Okay. Prabhupada's, of course, spiritual master is Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj, and his spiritual master, as you can see from the Guru Parampara there, his spiritual master was Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. And after that, moving that direction is Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is the father of Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. The spiritual master, just before the six Goswamis and at the end, is Srila Jagannath Das Babaji. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji is the spiritual master of the father of Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, okay, and there was an incident that happened, that's why I want to share this with you. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji lived up to 144 years. Yeah, wow. Yeah. And he was actually the founder of the Yoga Pit. Yoga Pit is in Mayapur. He discovered the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is called the Yoga Pit, and that is the center, is believed to be the center of Mayapur. Okay, so that is the glory of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji. And he lived up to 144, I told you that. He used to live 6 months in Vrindavan, 6 months in Jagannath Puri, 6 months Vrindavan, and going up and down like that. That's how he used to dedicate his life. When he met his disciple, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and his son, when he met Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, when he was 12 years old, only 12 years old, he saw these wonderful qualities in this, at that time, boy, Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. At 12 years old, he saw the intelligence, the dedication, he saw a lot of things. Yeah? And then he asked this 12-year-old boy to compile a Vaishnav calendar to record all the dates of the appearance and disappearance of all the acharyas. At 12 years old, he started compiling that Vaishnav calendar, and that's why today, because of him, we have a Vaishnav calendar. If you go online, if you see the Vaishnav calendar, you can find all the appearance and disappearances of all the acharyas. He started this. So this is an interesting fact that we should all remember and be very grateful for many more other things. And then I wanted to share with you one teachings and then an incident. The teaching. He was saying that people who want nothing from this world, people who are detached, completely detached from this material world, from all material possessions, they are called akinchana. They are completely aloof from material detachments. They are not interested in material possessions. Akinchana. They believe that nothing in this material world can give us eternal happiness. Yeah, temporary happiness maybe. But nothing as a fact in this material world can give us material happiness. And this is a teaching, a very clear-cut teaching from Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. And all the things in this world, okay, and akinchana, all the akinchanas, they see everything not for self-enjoyment, but they see everything to be used in the service of Hari, Krishna, Guru and Vaishnavas. And I'm quoting this from one of the readings and the reading material that I came across. Everything should be used in the service of Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. This is the teaching of Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. Because why? Nothing can give us any eternal happiness. Nothing is meant for us. And we should all try to come to that very difficult, very high platform. Yeah? And he goes on to say in his conclusion, in this reading material that I came across, he says that in this material world, we should not use anything for our satisfaction, our service, only for Krishna's service. And he says, we have no right to even take one blade of grass for our purpose. Such a powerful teaching. So from this, we should be inspired, we should be motivated and try to lead our life, our lifestyle, our living habits in that direction. Now coming to my last part, an incident. And I read this from one of the writings of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. And Maharaji recorded in his writings that Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, he was always emphasizing that we must speak the truth. The truth, Brahmanic truth, as mentioned and available in our Shastra and scriptures. But we should also speak not only the truth and the positive things, but we should also pinpoint and discredit the negative truth. Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur was such a brave preacher that if anybody was trying to talk about false, I was going to say false truth. There's no such thing as a false truth, right? So if there's anything, a false statement, anybody claiming a false statement, he would be the first one to go out there with a loud voice and declare that this is false, it's not Brahmanic, it's not in the scriptures. So his point was that not only speak the truth and full stop, but if there's anything false, discredit, challenge, prove that it is false. And because of this way of preaching, he created many enemies. Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, he created many enemies. So many enemies that they were all trying to kill him. They were trying to take his life. One day, Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur took all his disciples and went on a Navadip Parikrama. Parikrama is you go out on the streets and you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And you do a parikrama. And this was in Navadip. Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur was on the streets with his group of disciples, and they were doing this parikrama and this kirtan on the streets. And his enemies, they were taking stones, they would stand by, and when they passed by, they threw stones at this kirtan group. They were throwing, and some stones were big, and some devotees, they were suffering from cut, bleeding, and some even had fractures. Okay? Whatever I'm telling you now is I've read from the readings from His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. Okay? So it's coming from that parampara. So they were throwing stones and all that, but they didn't give up. They continued. But when they realized that the stone pelters, the throwers, they were actually targeting His Holiness Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. Then one of his disciples, wearing white, okay, and they covered him. He was wearing orange or saffron. They exchanged clothes. The disciple took his orange clothes, saffron clothes, and he wore white clothes. So he disguised, and 2-3 devotees took him and made him escape in one of the small alleyways. So he escaped. But the devotees, because one of the disciples was wearing saffron, they continued the kirtan. And with Krishna's mercy, They finished the Kirtan, no one died, no one was killed, but a lot of devotees, Vaishnavas, they suffered gashes and bleeding and fractures. And it is recorded that on the streets there was blood patches, blood of Vaishnavas. Just see, how much Vaishnavas do. Did they care? If they want, they could have just stopped and gone back home. Never mind, dangerous. They continued to preach and to do the Harinam of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they continued of Srila Prabhupada, and they continued. So we are all today sitting here. We should try to be more serious. Try to be more serious. They shed blood for us. And we cannot even shed time. I'm borrowing the word shed. So just think about it. And in conclusion, I just want to share one concluding point. We should try to get close to Krishna through our sadhana bhakti, our practice. You are as near to Krishna as your desire to meet Him. You are as near to Krishna as your desire to meet Him, and you are as far away from Krishna as your material desires between you and Him. If you want to enjoy material life or material desires, then you get further and further from Krishna. Let me just repeat that and then I will take my leave. You are as near to Krishna as your desire to meet Him, and you are as far away from Krishna as your material desires between you and Him. Hare Krishna.
Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Prabhupada Maharaj ki
Jai.
Jai. Sriman Radhakant Prabhu ki
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
I'm feeling embarrassed with what he said. Material desires means far away from Krishna. Okay, thank you. And one thing Prabhu said, to always keep in mind that goal, that highest teaching. We don't bring it down. Instead, we aspire to reach there, acknowledge where we are, but we want to reach there rather than bring the standard to our level. So I appreciate that point. Next, Singer Chaitanya Prabhu, would you like to come forward? Thank you.
Hare Krishna to everyone. Om Shivaya Krishna Prasthaya Putare Srimade Jittaya Swami Namacharya Thai Gauravinda Damdaya Nagaramdaya Namo Shivaya Krishna Prasthaya Putare Srimade Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari Nirvase Shunyavadi Bhashati Deshatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Maharaj disappearance in Mahamukha Sangeeta. I just read the glories of the Maharaj. This one is Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Maharaj, born as Vimal Prasad on 6 February 1974 and spread the glories of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu until the age of 62 till January 1937, January 1. Vimala Prasad Datta born as son of Kedarnath Datta Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhagavati Devi as 8th child in Jagannath Puri, Odisha, in a house situated a few hundred meters away from Jagannath Temple on Puri's Grand Road. The former father of Vimala Prasad, Kedarnath Datta, was also a prominent member of this circle among Gaudiya Vaishnava intelligentsia and played a significant role in the attempts to revive Vaishnavism. His literary and spiritual achievements later earned him honorific title Bhaktivedanta, Bhaktivinoda. After being posted in 1969 Puri as a deputy magistrate, Kedarnath Datta felt he needed assistance in his attempts to promote the cause of Gaudiya Vaishnavism in India and abroad. On one night, the deity of Jagannath personally spoke to Kedarnath in a dream. I didn't bring you to Puri to execute legal matters, but to establish Vaishnava Siddhanta. Kedarnath replied, your teachings have been significantly depreciated and I lack the power to restore them. Much of my life has passed and I am otherwise engaged, so please send somebody from your personal staff so that I can start this movement. Jagannath then requested Kedarnath to pray for an assistant to the image of goddess Bimala Devi worshipped in the Jagannath Temple. When his wife gave birth to a new child, Kedarnath linked the event to the divinary dream and named his son Bimala Prasad, the mercy of Bimala Devi. The same account mentions that at his birth, the child's umbilical cord was looped around his body like a sacred Brahmana thread that left a permanent mark on the skin as if foretelling his future role as religious leader. At the age of 9, he memorized the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit. From his early childhood, Bimala Prasada demonstrated a sense of strict moral behavior and sharp intelligence. He gained a reputation for remembering the passages from a book on a single reading and soon learned enough to compose his own poetry in Sanskrit. His biographers stated that even up to his last days, Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati could verbatim recall passages from books that he had read in his childhood, earning the epithet living encyclopedia. But on Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur's direction, he approached Gaura Das Babaji, a Gaudiya Vaishnava who regularly visited Bhakti Vinoda's house and was renowned for his asceticism and bhakti. In January 1901, according to his own testimony, Siddhanta Soroswati accepted the Babaji as his guru. According to Gaudiya Math followers, along with his initiation Diksha, he received a new name, Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daita Dasa. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitya Dasa, servant of Krishna, the beloved of Radha, which he adopted until new titles were conferred upon him. Bimala Prasad received both Western and traditional Indian education and gradually established himself as a leading intellectual among the Bhadralok, Western education, and often Hindu Bengali residents of colonial Calcutta, earning the title Siddhanta Soroswati. The mission initiated by Bhakti Vinod Thakur and developed by Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Prabhupada emerged as a most powerful reformist movement of Vaishnavism in Bengal of 19th and 20th century. In Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Swami both stayed together in a house at Navadip, worked together in writing Vaishnava literatures. When we go Navadip Parikrama, we could see this house, kerosene fan, etc. In 1918, following the 1914 death of his father and 1915 death of his Guru Gaura Dasa Babaji, Bimala Prasad accepted sannyasa from a photograph of his Guru and took the name Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Goswami. Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati inaugurated in Calcutta the first center of his institution, later known as the Gaudiya Math. It soon developed into a dynamic missionary and education institution with 64 branches across India, 3 centers abroad in Burma, Germany, and England. The Math propagated the teachings of Gaudiya Vaishnavism by means of daily, weekly, and monthly periodicals, books of the Vaishnava canon, and the public programs, as well as through such innovations as theistic exhibition with dioramas. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta is known for his intense and outspoken oratory and writing style as the Acharya Keshari, Lion Guru. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta opposed the monastic interruption of Hinduism or Advaita that had emerged as the prevalent stand of Hindu thought in India, seeking to establish traditional personalist Krishna Bhakti as its fulfillment and the higher synthesis. At the same time, through the lecturing and writing, Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Prabhupada targeted both the casteism of Smarta Brahmanas, hereditary priests, and sensualized practices of numerous Gaudiya Vaishnavism spin-offers, branding them as apasampradayas, deviations from the original Gaudiya Vaishnavism taught in the 16th century by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his closest successors. Hare Krishna. Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Maharaj, Jagannath Tample ki Jai. Gaur Premanand.
Jai. Jai Shriman Singha Chaitanya Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. So just before, like I was mentioning earlier, Pran Chaitanya Prabhu has to leave in a few minutes. So may I request Pran Chaitanya Prabhu to come forward and make his clarification.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnana-Anjana-Shalakaya Chakshur-Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri. I seek the blessings of all the devotees in glorifying such a great Vaishnava Acharya, Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada. So on the auspicious day of his disappearance, we will try to go through two of his many glorious attributes, specifically related to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur's taste in chanting of the holy names and his commitment shown through his own example. All of us, we know Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur as a Simha Guru, as a very bold preacher who took on the Mayavadi interpretations and so many diversions which had come into the cult of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through various apasampradayas. However, how Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur prepared himself in order to begin, in order to start this preaching movement is also very, very exemplary. And we hear from devotees like Radhakanta Prabhu mentioned that from very childhood he had lot of determination. We also see that as a young boy, around 13 years old, his own father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, handed him over a Kurma deity and the holy name of the Lord Hari and also Narsimha mantra, which he dedicatedly started chanting. But as he grew up and the exact purpose, the mission of his life, he started pursuing it in terms of getting trained in publishing, in printing of the books and all. Then, in order to properly, officially launch the preaching mission, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, at a very young age of around 31 years old in 1905. So, he was born in 1874. In 1905, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur took a vow to chant 1 billion names of Lord Hari. And he, as we all saw from the offering of the devotees earlier, he was very meticulous in calculations. He had a formal degree in mathematics and also astrology. So he calculated how long it would take for him to complete that vow of chanting 1 billion names. And it came to around chanting 192 rounds, similar to how Srila Haridas Thakur used to chant, for 9 continuous years. And to fulfill this particular vow, to prepare himself for the preaching mission, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he built a small thatched hut in Mayapur, and he was leading such austere life that he would take the grains of rice cooked after putting them on the floor, and just like a cow would eat the food on the floor, he would also eat in that type of way. And seeing his great austerities in terms of chanting, in terms of accepting prasad in such meager manner, his own spiritual master, Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, who was an epitome of renunciation himself, he was greatly pleased and amazed, and he mentioned that I personally see the renunciation of Srila Rupa Raghunath in my disciple. And it is so mentioned that when he used to chant, whenever it used to rain very heavily in Mayapur, we know that in Bengal when it rains, the Ganges swell and it becomes flooded everywhere. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wouldn't even bother to prevent the rains dripping into the thatched hut. He would simply hold an umbrella over his head and continue chanting. So this way, 9 consecutive years after sincerely chanting 1 billion holy names of Lord Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then he started the Gaudiya Math. He started the preaching mission. And subsequently, we also see in his acts the same faith in chanting of the holy names. One time, he asked his disciples to publish an ad in the newspaper that whoever is willing to chant the holy names of Lord Hari and dedicate his or her life in chanting the names of Lord Hari alone, we will take, that means the Gaudiya Math will take complete care of the lodging and boarding arrangement of that person. And his disciples were very anxious that, Guru Maharaj, are you sure that we want to go this way? Because if many people turn up, then how do we manage their sustenance? It will be a lot of expenditure and responsibility for us. He said, don't worry, Krishna will provide. They simply have to be ready to come and chant, dedicate their life for chanting. And quite a few people, they turned up responding to this particular ad. However, out of those, all these persons who turned up, one person continued to stay for dedicating his complete life, and that person became the glorious devotee Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj in Vrindavan. So he came to Krishna consciousness as a result of that particular ad, and this again shows the potency of Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur in having complete faith in chanting of the holy names. Another attribute of Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, which I would like to highlight on this auspicious day, is his quality of devotee care. One time, it so happened that as the Gaudiya Math mission was spreading all over the India, Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, he was scheduled to open a Gaudiya Math temple in a place in South India. And when Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur went for the inauguration, he came to know that there was some misunderstanding between devotees in the ashram of that particular temple, and one brahmachari, being upset because of how he was dealt with by some other devotees, he had left the temple. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur became very upset with himself. He said that with great faith, Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu had entrusted this devotee in my care, but because I could not take care of him properly, now he has left the devotee community. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur refused to continue with the temple inauguration until and unless that particular devotee is found. And devotees were in great anxiety. All the preparations done, invitations sent, and everything was ready for the inauguration. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked them to hold on the inauguration. 2 days, 3 days passed, and the devotees were frantically searching for this devotee in the town. But they knew what was his profession before joining the ashram. They came to know that he used to fix watches. He had expertise in fixing the watches before he joined the ashram. So they took a calculated guess that probably the watch shops are the places, the watch repair shops are the places where we could try. And they started searching all the watch repair shops in the town. And finally, they, fortunately by the mercy of Lord Krishna, they were able to locate this devotee. And when this devotee was told that Guru Maharaj has put on hold the temple inauguration because you are not there, because you have left the ashram, this devotee started crying. And seeing the love of his Guru Maharaj, even for one member of the ashram. And when he was brought up, even Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saroswati Thakur, he couldn't stop the flow of tears. That he derived such a joy that this devotee is saved from Maya and again has been brought under the shelter of all the devotees. And then the temple inauguration proceeded. So this just gives us a glimpse what should be the priority in our life. While we are engaged in the preaching movement, and there are so many tasks and the challenges and so many plans that we want to pursue. But in doing all this, how we should prepare ourselves nicely to fulfill these missions, plus take care of devotees who are the life and soul of all the Vaishnava Acharyas who have entrusted them in our community, in our care. So with this, I would like to thank all the devotees and Pushpa Gopal Prabhuji for giving me opportunity to glorify Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati. Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur ji ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai Shriman Chaitanya Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Prabhupada Ji Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. So, Rangamai Prabhu. So I invite Rangamai Prabhu to come forward to make his drink.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishna Mutri Shrimati Jayapataka Swami Vinami Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishna Mutri Shrimati Siddhanta Swami Vinami Spesa Sarvadiri Gauravan Vicharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Jitarni Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'd like to begin by offering my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur on his most wonderful Tirubhav Utsav or his disappearance day today. I think the speakers before me have already glorified Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur in such wonderful words. I'll just share some few anecdotes from his childhood and some key takeaways that we can have from his life, and finally conclude with one wonderful pastime that shows how caring he was for his disciples, just like Chaitanya Prabhu spoke about a while ago. One of the earlier devotees spoke about the miraculous birth of Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. Right? And if one looks at, as Prabhu was mentioning, it was the prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Lord Jagannath to send someone so that he could be assisted in his mission of reviving the religious spirit at that point of time, because the religious principles had been degraded at that point of time. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur realized that he couldn't revive the moment all by himself. And it was in response to his prayer to Lord Jagannath that Jagannath came in his dream and asked him to go and pray to Bimla Devi at Jagannath Puri. So we all know that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a magistrate under the British government, and he used to be serving in Puri. And it was due to his prayers to Bimla Devi that this illustrious son he was blessed with. And in response to that, he named that son as Bimla Prasad. Okay. Now, it so happened that when the child was at the birth of the child itself, the astrologer who was called to predict the future and prepare the horoscope, he said that this child has all the 32 exalted symptoms, okay, both physically, from physical body mind, from a subtle body mind perspective, that represent the markings of someone who is going to be great, okay, in the path of spirituality. Okay, so not just materialism, but then from the perspective of spirituality, and he's someone who will teach the real purpose of human life to humanity in general. Okay, so that was the prediction that was made by this astrologer, and it was kind of consistent with the prediction that was made by his great-grandfather also, by Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Maharaj's great-grandfather, when he was on his deathbed. It so happened that during one of the Rath Yatras, when Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur was still a small baby, less than a year old, now usually we all know that the Rath, it proceeds from the main temple to the Gundicha temple, okay, where the Lord stays, and then there is a Ulta Rath Yatra. Now it so happened, and also it is said that the Lord Jagannath moves by his own will. Okay? It is not that the pilgrims or the devotees, they pull the Rath Yatra and the Lord moves. No, the Lord moves by His own will. And as it may seem as a coincidence, but when the Rath Yatra was happening, it came outside Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house and it just stopped there. No matter what the devotees would do, how much of people they would bring in to pull the Rath would not move. Okay, and it stood there not for a couple of hours, it stood there for 3 full days. And seizing this opportunity, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his wife, they took Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, the baby, and they went and placed him at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath. Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur, the baby, he reached out to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And as if there was instant reciprocation, okay, there was a garland which fell from Jagannath's Vigraha onto Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. And that kind of indicated that, this small boy is carved out for greater things in life. The same day there was a Annaprashna ceremony which was held for Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. And also, as we have seen in the case of Srila Prabhupada, when small babies, in order to understand what their future inclination is going to be, a ceremony was conducted wherein material things like rice, paddy, money, material books, okay, the Vedas, and also the Srimad Bhagavatam was kept on one side to find out as to what the baby actually reached out for, right? And it's no surprise that keeping aside all the other material things, this baby reached out for the Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, an indication of the great things that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur was destined to achieve. The earlier devotee spoke about how at the age of 31, he resolved to chant 1 billion names of the Supreme Lord. Okay? And also not over a lifetime. He set himself accelerated path, okay, such that he managed to achieve that within a span of 9 years. 9 years and 4 months is what it is said, right? Which means chanting roughly 300,000 names of the Lord. The only other person that comes to mind who has achieved this feat is none other than Haridas Thakur, right? So again, indicating the generation or the lineage from which someone as exalted as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur came. Right? Now, therefore, if you look at, I just thought of listing down 3 or 4 key attributes that we can take away from the lifetime of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur. One was his unwavering devotion, okay, in terms of how steadfast and how disciplined he was with regard to his daily routine and practices, waking up early in the morning, okay, doing his sadhana, and congregational chanting, and how he was preaching Krishna consciousness to as many people as possible. Okay? And therefore that disciplined start to the day kind of set the tone for his spiritual growth. And again indicating for all of us how important the regular practice of sadhana, and particularly during the morning hours, is very important for us to remain disciplined in our devotional life. The second thing was in terms of his commitment to spiritual discipline. As I just mentioned about the vow that he had taken to chant 1 billion names of the Lord. And I think more than anything it exemplifies, leading by example. Okay, it is one thing to tell people that, please chant, please chant, please chant. But then with leadership, with actually taking responsibility to demonstrate as to what I mean by chanting, he stood out, and that is the true hallmark of a leader. So practice before you preach is another thing that we should really learn from the lifetime of Maharaj. Okay? And the third thing that comes to mind is in terms of how he was referred to as a lying guru. Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur was a fearless preacher, okay, very courageous. He did not preach for his own fame or his own glory or his own name, right? And he used to say that don't preach to please Janta, okay? Preach to please Janardhan, okay? meaning that the real purpose of preaching should be for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord and not for one's own name, fame, or glory, right? And he had a particular liking for those who took risks in preaching Krishna consciousness, like Radhakant Prabhu was mentioning, okay, in terms of how some of the devotees, they did not worry about risking their personal lives or putting themselves into danger, right, in order to preach Krishna consciousness. So he said those who are very complacent, he had a very, what do I say, strong word for those who are not willing to take risks or who are not at all engaged in the process of preaching Krishna consciousness. He used to call them as good for nothing, or to use a Bengali term, he used them as Sander Gobar, which actually means you're no better than the cow dung or the dung of a bull. Okay, pretty strong words. If you thought that Srila Prabhupada used to use strong words in his preaching, just imagine what one would say about Srila Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur's preaching, right? And he was fearless and courageous to challenge the prevailing practices at that point of time, right? Be it in terms of having a very contrarian view with regard to Vaishnavas versus Brahmins, or for that matter, encouraging the granting of Brahminical initiation to those who were not even born in Brahmana families. I mean, that kind of demonstrated a very non-conformist or a very radical kind of an approach for that time. I mean, we are talking of the early part of the 20th century, some 120 years back, right? So for someone to take that kind of an approach, that earned him the epithet or the title of Lion Guru or Simha Guru, okay, by which he became famous for the rest of his life. Lastly, I would just like to conclude by sharing one wonderful pastime which to me spoke volumes about how he cared for the spiritual growth of his disciples. So there was this one particular brahmachari disciple who had given his entire life to the Gaudiya Math, okay, and he had been diagnosed with a life-threatening terminal illness, and he knew that his end was near, and he asked permission of his Guru Maharaj to go and visit his mother before he gave up his body, right? And his Guru Maharaj flatly refused. He said, you have been a celibate, okay, you have spent all your life in the Gaudiya Math. I don't want you to go and meet your mother at this point of time. Why? Because she will have all that lamentation of you having left her, okay, and spent life as a brahmachari, and that will pollute your mind with Maya, and everything that you have done all this life will be a waste. So you stay back in the Math itself and continue to do your sadhana. A few days before his actual departure, okay, this brahmachari's departure, about 3 or 4 days before that, when people knew that he is going to give up his body, Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj actually called a few of his other devotees and told them, you please take him back to his house, okay? Take him to his mother, right? Put him on a train and all of you accompany him. And at that point of time, this brahmachari was protesting. I know my end is near, I'm going to give up my body in a few days' time. I want to die in a dham, okay? But then, Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj, he flatly refused. He said, this is my order, you go away. And then these devotees, the other disciples, they took him on a train, and unfortunately, this disciple gave up his body while on the train itself, right? So the other disciples were kind of shocked. Why would Guru Maharaj actually do something like this to someone who has dedicated his entire life to the mission? Right? And they came back and reported this to Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj. And then he meditated on this and they wanted to understand as to what was the thought process in Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj's mind on why he had actually made this decision. To which he meditated upon it and he said, if I had sent him earlier, okay, then he would have forgotten everything that he had been doing throughout his life, and in the company of his mother, that maternal affection, he would have given up his body, and everything that he has done throughout his life would have gone a complete waste. Whereas now he had developed so much attachment for the dham that by going, he would have died thinking about, oh, I am separated from the dham, I am separated from the dham. And we all know that the dham is no different from the Supreme Lord himself. So in a way, he has actually thought about the Lord while he has given up his body, and therefore his destination to the spiritual world is certain. So this was a very one might look at it as being very cruel, okay? But then this was the thought process, the higher thought process that Bakthi Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj actually had. So in conclusion, and again I was in preparation for this offering, I was listening to a class by one of the devotees, and he summed it up beautifully towards the end. He said that Bakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj was no less than Vaman Dev, okay, for in the age of Kali. Okay, Vaman Dev he tackled Bali, and Bakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj tackled Kali by taking 3 important steps. First step was in terms of banishing atheism and establishing spirituality as a mantra or the important thing for this age of Kali. Having established spirituality, he went on to kick out impersonalism. Okay? He was such a fierce leader in terms of advocating the personal form of the Lord that he banished impersonalism. And then, of course, the third aspect was in terms of not just following ritualistic practices blindly, okay, for the sake of doing them, but then strongly emphasizing on the philosophical aspect as enjoined in the scriptures on why we are doing whatever we are doing, right? And then the ultimate goal not being just practicing Vaidhi Bhakti, but actually reaching to the stage of Raganga Bhakti. So these are the 3 steps that he actually took, and in terms of establishing the Krishna conscious movement in that age. So to that, Bakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada, okay, who gave us this foremost disciple, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, because of whom all of us are present over here in this city of Singapore and glorifying Maharaj on this day. I offer my most humble and respectful obeisances and conclude my offering. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Soroswati Thakur Maharaj ki jai.
Jai Sriman Rangamai Prabhu ki
Jai.
We'll break into a song for a song now. There is a song called Thakura Vaishnava Pada. Where's Amarendra Prabhu? Amarendra Prabhu? Okay, never mind, so we'll sing another song. Jayanilo Premadana.